Hi, my name is Arturo Alonzo Sandoval, and I'm a retired professor emeritus from the University of Kentucky. Kentucky's not my home state. I was born in the state of New Mexico, where my family were weavers, and I began as a weaver in the fiber world. And so from weaving, I began to make three-dimensional artwork, which then, when I got my first National Endowment for the Arts grant, which was related to art quilts, I became a quilter from 1973 onward. And where I am now is I'm standing in the National Quilt Museum Corner Gallery, and I'm thrilled to have a solo show here at this prestigious museum. And I'd like to share a little bit more about the work that is in this exhibit. This work began around 2004 when I was working, in this work in 2004, while I was working in my studio, I received correspondence from Jack Lenore Larson, who commented on me, on my work, and said, why don't you try returning to some of the work you did in the 70s, because he was seeing a lot of my cosmic realm images. So I took his advice and I began working with pattern fusion concepts. And what the title represents for me as a weaver, it represented the fact that I would sew microfilm elements in their graphic nature, and then I would interlace them horizontally so that the two graphic patterns would fuse together in the same art quilt. And that eventually led me to try another format and image called the Motherboard series. And the Motherboard series became, for me, the most important aspect of my work at that time. Motherboards are digital, physical objects that hold digital images, ones and zeros. So they contain all the information that you're ever going to have on your computer. And when I recreated the image of a motherboard in mylar and microfilm and paint and holographic film, I transferred an analog material into a digital material format. So the analog imagery and content on my microfilm is now housed on the motherboard art quilt. So it just made it, for me at the time, the perfect fusion between digital and analog materials and ideas. In the beginning of when my Motherboard series started to take place in my studio, I would take the motherboard image from the computer and replicate the design elements as you see here on this blue motherboard. So you're looking at elements that would hold the dram. You're looking at elements that would hold the fan to cool off the motherboard inside the computer, and these other elements related to capacitors and other parts of the motherboard. In this large one, what I did is I took a digital image of the motherboard and I reproduced it on perforated vinyl. And the vinyl has millions of little holes in it so that when I sewed the green mylar behind it, all that green color comes through the perforated elements. And as you can see in this image, there are many more capacitors, which are the circles, and there are many more elements for DRAM and for memory slots and for a fan to cool it. So I reinterpreted the surface of an actual digital motherboard image on this larger scale. And the motherboard microfilm elements that are on here, instead of weaving and leaving the weave in place, I removed the weave and just kept all the vertical microfilm elements, which is very different than the blue one, which you previously saw. In this piece, the motherboard is at a dynamic angle. One of the things that I realized was that motherboards are actually in relief. there's a three-dimensional element that protrudes from the base of the actual motherboard foundation. And so in this work, you can see the drams are more three-dimensional, and you can feel the three-dimensionally elements on here. The capacitors, instead of being circular, they're now elliptical because of the dynamic twist in the motherboard.